Hello,
Yeah.
Tim. How are you
Hello,
doing?
brother. Hello. Look at that UN logo. Look at it. It's got in the longitude and latitude degree lines, you can see there are 33 um, sections. That's the 33 degrees of Freemasonry. And those laurel leaves are the laurel leaves of Pallas Athena, the goddess of, well, she's like the patron goddess of Freemasonry. This is a Freemason plot, the whole goddamn thing. And who owns the Freemasons and who runs it? B'nai B'rith. That's the highest lodge in the world. And what does it mean? Sons of the Covenant. And what does that mean? It means the chosen people. And who are they? Well, they're supposed to be Jews. But like the book of Revelation says, though they call themselves Jews, they are not. They are the synagogue of Satan. It's not about anti Semitism. They're not even Semites. It's just bullshit. That whole narrative. They're Khazarian, they're Canaanites, and they're satanic, and they worship the devil, not God. So how does that make them Jews? They're not Jews. So screw this anti-Semitism bullshit. They're not Jews, and Israel is not Jewish. It is run by Khazarians. 80% of the population, Khazarian extraction. There's more Jews among the Palestinians than there is among the Israelis. It's all a farce, goddammit, and everything's backwards and upside down. And screw these fascist baby fuckers. And sorry, they're not motherfuckers, they're baby fuckers. That's the truth. The Babylonian Talmud is the most satanically sick book ever published, and it advocates rape of babies and children and absolutely inflammatory in terms of its racism against anyone who's non-Jewish. And the irony is they're non-Jewish. The very people who purport to be Jews, the Israelis, are not Jews. It's such a goddamn farce, the whole goddamn thing. Okay, so they want a one world government. No, they want a one world fascist dictatorship with the so-called chosen people at the top. They're not the chosen people. These bloodlines are satanic Canaanite bloodlines. They are not Jews. They never were. So forget this anti-Semitism shit. It's bullshit. All right. And to achieve this one world fascist dictatorship with the UN so-called world government at the helm, they have to destroy all the nation states by setting them up for failed nation status. I'm sorry, but the greatest nation on earth, the UK, is being systematically destroyed as we speak. And I'm pretty angry about it because it is the greatest culture, the greatest nation, the greatest country in the history of the world. And they're systematically destroying it by flooding it with refugees, illegal immigrants, and bringing in Muslims by the horde and destroying the white Christian tradition of the country, the white Christian culture, all of its institutions, systematically destroying it. And what are they going to end up at the end? A failed nation. Britain has never failed at anything. They've imposed failure upon the country, these fascist dictators. And God damn them to hell. And I hope they end up in the lake of fire. Oh, God, these disgusting pigs. Anyway, they've destroyed our traditions, our heritage, and they're systematically destroying Britain.
I
And
mean,
so
this.
what would they do after that? They'll bring in blue helmet troops and impose UN martial law on the country. And they'll just impose their fascist will. And I think they're going to genocide all white Christians. That's their plan, unless we stop them. And I'm all for shooting every blue helmet troop that you see. Go for it. I'm all for it.
I mean, in simple terms, for people who don't understand all this stuff,
Yeah.
they start with conquer and divide. I mean,
Yeah.
for 20 years, me and Maggie Tuttle, they're dividing the family by, the man's no good in the family. So if a man's in the family, then if the woman's had a problem, let's split the kids up, split the families up. That's one way of dealing with that. They're doing it with the drugs. They're doing it with, well, they're doing it with everything basically. And now it's the wartime, the Iran war. I was listening
Right.
to David Icke today. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't get David Icke, but if you just take him simply and just listen to any subject that's to do with a current event, he's bang on. He may be a bit overwhelming for the people who don't understand a lot of his theories, but simple stuff like the Iran war, he's explained it, like Trump's a little bit of a, let's say, an actor, a puppet, a show master. You know, it's not about that. It's about the what happens after. And obviously, Trump wants to make sure he's got money on his side or the uranium from the nuclear weapons. And yeah, I mean, he was also saying, which what I think's true, uh, that Trump is buying time for. I mean, I don't know if you've been following it, but Trump gave Iran a deadline, otherwise he's going to blow everything up, power and electricity and whatever. But he's given them another 5 days. But Ike was saying um, that was just like a cover story to get the boots on the ground. But yeah, it seems so overwhelming for me. I read a little bit here, I listen a little bit there, and I'm still confused.com. Yeah, but really, it's about control.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Lockdowns, the COVID. All that was about control. Taking your kids, control. How much do you earn? Where do you live? Can you put a book out that sell? No, it's about control.
Yeah.
They even
That's right.
control David Icke. They stripped him from YouTube, all platforms, but he's back because YouTube's not that daft. David Icke makes YouTube a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, he's
But
been
yeah,
right.
they're making our country, Tim. Sorry, the point is they are making our country and probably yours a living hell.
Yeah. Slowly but surely. Yeah. Yeah. That's the agenda to destroy the heritage and the culture of the country so that it has no reason to fight for its sovereignty and its independence. And so it becomes absorbed by the rubric of the UN so-called world government, the world fascist dictatorship. And of course, they've got the blue helmet troops, so the one world army will be imposed on us all. So as they systematically dismantle the countries and watch them fall into failed nation status, well, as civil war erupts within the country because they pitted one group against the other in a race war that's designed to depopulate each country in a massive depopulation program orchestrated by these genocidal monsters at the top, people like Bill Gates, people like Klaus Schwab, all these fascists, all these horrible, horrible fascists. And people are calling for the arrest of Bill Gates. You sent me that article. Great. I can't wait to see that son of a bitch behind bars. He's the most evil, Dr. Evil character I've ever seen.
But
That'll be fantastic. At least that's a little bit small, but little bit of a step in the right direction. All right.
yeah, according to David Icke, he's one of the puppets that are here to play part of the game. The
Yeah.
people who are really responsible, you'll never. see them in your lifetime or ever hear from them. Now that makes it a little bit strange as well, but
Well, you never hear from them, but you still know who they are. They're the 13 Illuminati bloodline families. Those are the main culprits right there. Rothschild's number one public enemy right there. Okay, so the one world police force. Okay, so that's pretty easy and self-explanatory. You won't have any regional or local municipal police. You'll have an international police force that'll probably coordinate with those blue helmet troops that I was talking about. And respecting the national jurisdiction of the country, forget it. They'll just walk right all over us. And I wouldn't be surprised if most of them are Robocop. I remember when I was coming back from abroad, I think from the Philippines, I'm not sure. Anyway, I came back and I had to check in through customs in my own country. And the first thing I had to do is type in my data on a computer, and the computer was shaped and of the same size as Robocop. It looked exactly like Robocop. Then I had to go and talk to a human customs agent, and that wasn't enough. I had to go through round 3 and talk to another customs agent, and I thought, okay, so I'm Canadian, and this is my country, and this is the bullshit I have to be subjected to when I come back. Well, obviously, this is just conditioning for what the next step is, actual Robocop interrogating me. And that'll be, 2030, no doubt. UN Agenda 2030, fascist dictatorship laws in effect. And that'll be what it'll be.
I mean, do you know what? What we're laughing about, well, not laughing about, we're angry about it over here. So, hang on, I haven't said it yet. It's exactly the point you've just said.
And honestly, I'm not sure whether this rant is
You belong
anger
to a country,
or
Tim.
comedy. I just think it's just hysterically funny,
You
this
belong to
whole.
a country, so when you go out your country, you have to prove who you are. When you come back, you have to prove who you are. But all these asylum seekers, they just come in, no problem. Don't even have a, they don't even get checked for arms or drugs or anything. They just border force in the UK. Come on, we've got plenty of hotels for you. That's the end of that one.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you're treated like an alien as a citizen of your own land, and all these foreigners flood in and they're treated like royalty, and they get way more in terms of their, welfare payments are far in excess of what the average Brit or the average Canadian earns from their hard work and their salary. And so you're treated like a second class citizen in your own country. And so what does that mean? That means that your country and your citizenship are being shit on. You're nothing but a piece of shit to these globalists. Your country means nothing. It doesn't exist anymore. You will be part of the global dictatorship whether you like it or not. Well, I don't like it, and I will fight to the death with these assholes, Andy. I don't want to put up with any of this shit. It's not worth living on a planet with these dictators in power. It's not worth. Give me freedom or give me death, and I don't care whether you put a plug right between my eyes. I couldn't give a goddamn shit. I will defy you assholes to the end. Fuck you. Anything, anything to add, Andy?
Well, the only thing you can do is laugh because otherwise you'd cry.
Yeah, but absolutely true. End of the family unit. So what does that mean? The state becomes,
The Guardians.
yeah, and the child becomes a ward of the state. Even if they manage to stay under their parents' roof, they will be conditioned to defy their parents, ignore their parents, and hate their parents.
Exactly, and possibly in the future make false allegations up there not true.
Oh, yeah, as if that hasn't already happened in the present. And my friend Andy is one of the unfortunate victims of this tyranny because his now mentally ill child has made false allegations against him. And I'm not going to share what they are because it's total bullshit. But this is the kind of poisoning of the mind that these kids are subjected to. And all the things they accuse Andy of were done by the creeps in the child services, in the so called care services.
And not only that, other children get damaged, so much that, they don't say much about their damage, but you know their damage, and you just know there's something missing between your love for them and their love for you, even. I don't mean the child who does the false allegations, but just a normal child that's back with their mum and dad after so many years of being away. It's still never the same.
Well, they're virtually estranged from you so that when they come back, they don't know you. They don't feel comfortable with you. Who is this person, right?
It never gets better. It should do, but it never does.
Okay, and then we have the one world central bank, which means that there's going to be a one world digital currency. And they'll have the Chinese style social credit system. So if your social credit score is really low, they can just switch off your bank account so that you can starve to death.
Yeah,
And I've seen the homeless in the various cities that I've been in, and they're if they beg for change, who's got change? We're all using debit cards and credit cards to make our payments. Does anyone keep change in their pocket anymore? Not most people, no. So, asking for change is pretty much a waste of time because most people won't have change to give the homeless person.
no. So I think you should educate them a little bit and say, look, you need a card reader now, mate. Just hand the card reader to the people going by. Any change, just tap here.
Yeah.
Or the change they're asking for may not be coins. They might want a change of their lifestyle and change of the world they live in.
Okay, here's something I need to share with you, Andy. In the Philippines, there are people who make their living by selling produce and food in the market and maybe goods. They get paid in Philippine pesos, they get paid in cash. They don't have a bank account, so where are they going to put their money? In a stash, maybe in a safe in their own house. Do they have a bank account? No. Why? Because it costs too much money to open a bank account in the Philippines. So most of those people, the urban poor that are making their money at the market, don't have a bank account and never will. So when they implement this world digital currency, how are they going to live? Because they can't get paid and no one has any cash. And in a cashless society, how are these people supposed to live? How are they supposed to survive? Well, they might adopt some kind of a barter system so that they can trade with the people that are buying their goods. I can't see any other solution. Can you, Andy?
No, but that's maybe why, the depopulation of the white person comes in. I know Filipinos are not technically white, but you know what I mean. They want to get rid of all the poor people so they're not a burden. So they'll be a part of this.
Well, most Filipinos are Christian, and definitely the globalist agenda is to genocide all whites and all Christians. And white Christian, you're dead already. Sorry, because you got two scores against you. So this is what I'm talking about, one world cashless digital currency. So how are the people, like the ones I've just described, supposed to survive? They're not meant to. They don't want markets and they don't want people selling produce from local farms. They want us all eating their chemically poisoned shit by multinationals that are part of the agenda that feed us poison. They don't want people to buy fresh produce in a market. Okay, end of all private property. Yeah, I think we're being set up for that. And that's one of the platforms of communism, which is proof that this world totalitarian state they're imposing on us is a communist government, a communist dictatorship. Okay, so with the genocidal vaccines that they're going to force us to take, they will sterilize all the women and make them infertile and poison us so that we die from some opportunistic disease that will kill us before our time. And certainly will mind control us and will certainly delete the God gene so that we have zero spirituality. And apparently we're not going to be able to refuse the vaccine. Well, fucking come to my front door, asshole. Come and tell me I have to take it. I'll say, you have to put the bullet in my head before you get that jab in my arm. Asshole. Fuck you. Okay. End of home and car ownership, right? So I guess it will be having to take the Uber and or public transit. Okay. Mandatory multiple vaccines yearly. Oh, really? Well, not me. Sorry.
They'll jab you up the bum when you look the other way.
Well, I think what they'll do is they'll take the people that refuse and put them in a holding facility, a quarantine facility, and they'll just force jab them. And if you try and resist, they'll taser you. And if they have to taser you to death, great. They save a lot of time, money, and and trouble. So, what is the option? Hiding out in the bush? Maybe. Foraging for food in the bush is not that easy, but it can be done. Put enough provision away for the winter, and you're there. I'd suggest a cave as a dwelling. Keeps the snow off, and it's fairly cozy and warm, especially if you gather some firewood and make a fire inside the cave. So what do you think, Andy? Can you do without a car?
You can do without a lot of things.
What about living in the 15-minute city that they talk about?
15 minutes city. Does that mean
So
you're only allowed 15 minutes to go
to
in and
get
out of?
to get to work or to do
Okay.
whatever you want to do, shopping or whatever. So if you're out of your 15-minute zone, no doubt they'll ticket you, fine you in some way.
Wow, scary.
Well, if I'm on my bicycle and I'm not burning any carbon, I'm going to say, so why are you harassing me when I'm on a bike and okay, I may be an hour outside of my 15-minute zone, but I'm not burning any fuel. Why are you harassing me over that? It's none of your business.
Yeah, that's scary, that one.
Universal austerity income. So if you don't work, if you're not able to find a job because a lot of people have been laid off and replaced by robots and AI, you will be given a universal austerity income. Okay, and what's that going to consist of? Basically, a survival allowance. And I'm sure that if you break any of the rules or are non-compliant in any way, they will just deny you the basic income. And what are we talking about here as a universal austerity income? Well, if your rent is subsidized and already arranged, then it would probably just consist of enough money to buy food. No luxuries, no chance of you going to a restaurant or dining out. Social media, digital ID. Okay, so they won't allow people like you and me, whistleblowers and way showers, to be on the internet warning people. They'll shut us down with this fascist digital ID for logging on to the internet. What do you think about that, Andy?
Well, we'll just go outside and shout it. Um, shout at each letterbox. Come outside, come outside. That's how they must have done it years ago.
But no doubt they'll have some other pandemic lockdown so that social gathering will not be allowed, and they'll have social distancing measures in place so that people can't gather to protest.
But if all the Christians and the whites are gone, what kind of world are we talking about? If the people who are there to survive, they've been picked to survive, is all this irrelevant? Because
Well, I'm assuming that any population that survives will be compliant with all these fascist rules and regulations, and they will be compliant and will obey, and that will allow them to survive, if you can call it survival, if you can call it living under dictatorship type conditions.
it'd be like living with Putin and Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein?
Saddam insane from Iraq, the Iraq war, Saddam.
Yeah, I remember old Satan saying,
Insane. Yeah,
okay.
I like that.
So the implementation of the Chinese social credit system, great. And as you pointed out, government raised children. So the public education system is indoctrinating them with all this poisonous ideology, mainly to turn them against white people and Christians, and to promote LGBTQ and And if it's not Black History Week, it'll be Indigenous History Week or something else, but it'll certainly not have anything that's reflective of white culture or white history. That's being systematically removed from the curriculum. And so what are you learning? Just ideology and just the imposed indoctrination system, not education system. Education's dead. There is no education. It's indoctrination. And then slowly they will take the teachers out of the mix and they'll just have a AI talking head teaching these kids everything. They'll just go into the classroom if they even have them, and there will be, you'll be told to use your computer desktop computer or bring your own laptop and log in, and the login information will make it so that you can't get into any unauthorized area of the internet. You're only able to access the course curriculum mandated material during your class time. And this AI talking head teacher will come on and tell you all the mumbo jumbo that Big Brother wants to indoctrinate you on. And you will gain no cultural or spiritual enrichment. You will just be poisoned against all of your history, all of your traditions, all of your national customs and conventions, and you'll be poisoned into adopting the one world ideology of the world government dictatorship that's imposed on you. And one of those things will be, the vilifying of any family values and only endorsing a brave new world type of view. And the idea of having a love baby conceived by a loving couple, forget it. They'll have all of our offspring born in test tubes in some facility. I'm sure that's their plan. Okay, so all business is run by the state, another one of the platforms of communism. End of non-essential air travel. Well, how are they going to determine what is non-essential in terms of air travel, Andy? Would it be considered non-essential for you to go and visit one of your family members?
Yeah, it'd be like knocking on the doors. They'll restrict where you go. You might, I mean, you have to have a passport now. You might have to have 10 times more than a passport before you're allowed to travel. You might have to actually, I don't know, kill people or steal something or whatever they do in their mad world before you get the credits to travel.
Maybe so, yeah. So you'll have
If you take your vaccination, you'll be allowed one visit. If you take two vaccinations, you'll be allowed two visits. Yeah, that's kind of the
that's
thing, I
that
think.
sort of that sort of thing, yeah.
Or maybe if you work for free, you could then travel. Yeah, I don't know.
And then it's end of private farms and vegetable gardens. Well, I've seen this in the past where the police swarmed a private farm and people that were growing their own vegetables, and they arrested them and confiscated their produce. And that happened in the United States a few years ago. So that kind of draconian legislation will be the norm, and everyone will be subjected to it.
They probably wanted the vegetables themselves because they were so nice, being organic.
Mhm.
It's the same with money and drugs. I'm pretty certain that the police, the customs, the border force, I'm pretty certain they don't burn all that. They must somehow take advantage of all the stuff that's been confiscated.
And sell it themselves.
Mm, they must have some kind of way.
Well, I remember when I was in Hong Kong years ago, and my girlfriend, Mei Ling, her grandfather was an opium addict. And so her cousin, Ting Fa, was a prostitute, and she had a homicide detective as one of her clients, and they became lovers. And so the homicide, sorry, did I say homicide detective? No, not a homicide detective. He was with the drug enforcement squad, and he had access to opiates like heroin and opium, huge stashes of it. And so he supplied the grandfather with the opium that kept him going until his death. This happened a long time ago. Is this, something that is widespread practice that happens?
Yeah, Tim, I think it probably did. Anyway, we're at the end of the show now. Thanks for coming, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment is more important. I'll link a couple of videos from David Icke at the bottom of this. Please give him a chance. He's 73. I mean, he's been talking this stuff all his life and it's always come true. So give him a chance. Maybe buy a book. Okay, then take care from Tim and take care from me. And that's two peas in a podcast.